Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores,
Present.
Gutierrez, Hagenbu, Hall, Hancock, Hinojosa of Nueces, Hinojosa of Hidalgo, Huffman, Hughes, Johnson, King, Colkhorst, Menendez, Middleton, Miles, Nichols, Parker, Paxton, Perry, Schwertner, Sparks, West, Zaffarini.
Quorum is present. Please rise for the invocation to be delivered by Pastor Peter Hill, First Baptist Church in Canyon Lake, Texas. If everyone in the gallery will please rise.
Heavenly Father, our Creator and Sustainer, we praise and thank you today for your abundant offerings of mercy, grace, and forgiveness. I ask you to give each distinguished representative here today and anyone within the hearing of my voice the wisdom of King Solomon to rightly judge what and who comes before them today and every day. I join the Apostle Paul in his book to the Philippians, praying that each senator will discern what is best for our great state of Texas and its wonderful people, that they will make decisions and cast votes based on principles that are eternal and life-giving, that will promote the good of all Texans. I thank you for these men and women and their willingness to serve, and ask that you would protect each of them, their families, and their staffs from all attacks, whether verbal, physical, social media, etc., that might come their way. And I pray blessings over this chamber, that the business may be conducted in a calm, respectful, peaceful, and orderly fashion. I ask all these things in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Hill. Mr. Doorkeeper. The Dean of the Senate moves to dispense with the reading of yesterday's journal. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The motion is adopted. Mr. Doorkeeper.
Mr. President, there's a message from the House.
Admit the messenger.
Mr. President, I'm directed by the House to inform the Senate that the House has taken the following action. The House has passed the following measures. HB.
Following message from the Governor. Secretary, read the message.
To the Senate of the 89th Legislature, regular session, on April 17, 2025, I submitted the name of Antonio L. Santana for appointment to the Coastal Water Authority Board of Directors for a term to expire April 1, 2027. Because he resigned, I hereby withdraw his nomination. Respectfully submitted, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, to nominations.
Chair recognizes Senator Campbell to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Well, members, today we have Dr. Michael Hinman, who is a board-certified family practice medicine with over 25 years of experience. He is serving as Doctor of the Day, and he's actually done this about 3 or 4 times since 1999, so that's before some of us were even here. He's a proud Texan. He was originally from Montana, but his dad was in the Air Force and brought him along with him as they moved from place to place. You know, we talk about people moving from one state, coming here, doing their medical school and residency, and then they choose to stay in Texas, and he's the perfect example. He currently practices at Christus Trinity Clinic in New Braunfels, but he received his medical training at UT Health San Antonio and residency completed at Christus Santa Rosa. So we are honored to have you with us today. Members, help me appreciate his service. Dr. Hinman.
Chair lays out the following resolution. Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 360 by Gutierrez. Whereas Hyperemesis gravidarum Awareness Day is taking place on May 15, 2025, and whereas established in 2012, the observance promotes better understanding of hyperemesis gravidarum, a severe form of nausea and vomiting that occurs during pregnancy. Patients with the condition may experience significant weight loss, electrolyte imbalance, dehydration, and debility, and are at increased risk for preterm labor. Moreover, affected newborns may suffer from low birth weight and neurodevelopment issues. And whereas it is vital that patients with hyperemesis gravidarum receive tailored care as soon as they experience symptoms, which may begin as early as the 4th week of their pregnancy. And whereas HG is an underdiagnosed condition that affects nearly 6 million women worldwide. And in 2023, some 900 patients in Texas received treatment for the disorder. It is the #1 cause of hospitalization in early pregnancy, as well as the #2 cause of hospitalizations overall in pregnancy, resulting in an annual national cost of $3 billion. And whereas hyperemesis gravidarum poses a serious risk to expectant mothers and their developing babies, and Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Day serves as a means of educating the public about the condition, calling attention to the need for more research, and uniting Texans in their commitment to improving outcomes for patients. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate of the 89th Texas Legislature hereby recognize May 15, 2025 as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Day and urge all Texans to learn more about the condition.
Chair recognizes Senator Gutierrez on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SR 360 designates today, May 15th, as Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Day. Catherine Clark is here with us today. Catherine, where are you? Can you stand up? There you are. She's on the western side of the gallery. In the 87th session, we passed SB 1941, which created a hyperemesis strategic plan modeled after the Texas Postpartum Depression Strategic Plan. SB 1941 mandates the Health and Human Services Commission to develop a 5-year plan to improve diagnosis and public awareness of HD. It's a condition that's little understood, under-researched, and under-reported. And, you know, it's something that really harms women in a real way. Traditional morning sickness is common, but this is something far more grave than that. HG is a disorder that causes extreme persistent nausea and vomiting during pregnancy. 2 priorities of the strategic plan are to help clinicians and hospitals better recognize and treat HG using evidence-based protocols, and to improve health and social support for pregnant women and infants impacted by HG. Catherine Clark is the Director of Healthcare Quality at the Texas Medical Association. She's in the gallery today, and she's worked hard to expand awareness and education for HG. Along with Catherine are some of her co-workers from TMA. If you guys could stand up. Thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you all for being here and for what you do for the state of Texas. I move adoption. Thank you so much.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. Resolution is adopted. Chair lays out the following resolution. Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 522 by Menendez et al., recognizing the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Latina Leadership Institute.
Chair recognizes Senator Menendez on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to present Senate Resolution 522, recognizing a very, very important group of leaders. Would y'all stand up so everybody can see y'all up here in the South? Look at that awesome group of people. The Latina Leadership Institute, and with them today, I want to name a few of the leaders that are bringing them with us today. Lily Garcia, Laura Mays, Estrellita Garcia Diaz, Juan Flores, and Luis Rodriguez. Folks, this program was first created through the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in 2015, 10 years ago. The program aims to increase the number of Hispanic women in leadership roles and in government, because God knows we could use y'all. I tell you what, the Latina Leadership Institute provides a 6-month program that teaches women about the tools they'll need in order to be successful in leadership roles like holding public office, running a nonprofit organization, running businesses. And members, I believe it's imperative that women and individuals of color and members who come from communities which have been systematically discriminated against have representation. You must have representation in every boardroom, in every place of government, and every hall of power. The Latina Leadership Institute is doing just that by equipping young Latina women with the resources and the information they need to be successful in their futures. Many of the members of the Latina Leadership Institute have gone on to serve our communities by enrolling in institutions of higher education, serving on various boards, running for public office, and starting their own nonprofit organizations. It is my honor to recognize all of the participants in the Latina Leadership Institute and thank the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for their hard work and ensuring that our Latina community has their voice heard in every policy, because obviously none of us would be here without the Latinas in our lives. And I mean, it is just unbelievable that we have to do this, but I'm so glad that we are. I want to thank you for all the hard work that you put in every day. I want to thank you for everything that you do. And it's vitally important and a constant improvement to our community. And before I end, members, I want to invite all of you to go visit the office of one of the most powerful Latinas in this state. She is a living legend, a historic figure. Probably no one, I know for a fact, no one has worked harder than her in public office and really has never missed a vote, is always the most prepared, and that is my colleague, who I consider her a mentor, and that is our Dean, Senator Judy Saffirini. So get a chance, go see her. And if you get a chance, when we finish here, come down the stairs in the middle. We want to take a picture with y'all. I'm sure Senator Saffirini would like to come out and join us. Mr. President, thank you for the time. Members, thank you. I move adoption of Senate Resolution 522.
Chair recognizes Senator Zaffirini on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, I certainly thank Senator Menendez for such beautiful words and such nice compliments. You're always so gracious and so generous. And it's so wonderful to see you being so effective in the Texas Senate, not only for the people of San Antonio, whom you represent so wonderfully, but also for the people of Texas, those who matter. And today, we thank you especially for this resolution. I join Senator Menendez, Senator Gutierrez, and Senator Campbell in welcoming the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Latina Leadership Institute, and thank the Chamber for establishing the Institute and supporting it in so many ways. Your work is so important, not only for what you are doing today, but for the example you are setting for the women who will follow. And the best thing that you can do is motivate the little ones, the little Latinas, to do what you are doing and even more. Because as parents, we don't want our children. As leaders, we don't want those family members from other areas of Texas, or ours included, to be like us. We want them to be better than we are. We don't want them to match our accomplishments, but to surpass them. And I hope that that is your goal for the little Latinas. And above all, teach them not only to strive, but also to work with Latinos, with the little Latinos, because women are great, women do our best, women are important, but we can succeed only by working with men. And there are so many men who support our goals, who understand the work that we do is vital for the future of Texas. And your example is certainly critical. Every day, everything you do, everything that you say is being watched by the little ones in your life. And so I hope you will always set that example. I implore you to especially promote bilingualism and biculturalism, because I agree with those who say that a person who speaks two languages can be said to have two souls. As the first Mexican-American woman elected to the Texas Senate, I am delighted that I was followed by a wonderful San Antonio leader, Leticia Vandepute, who was the second, and then by Silvia Garcia from Houston, and now Carol Alvarado from Houston, who is the chair of our Senate Democratic Caucus. And she is also a wonderful Latina. But there have been only 4 of us in the Texas Senate. But did you know, in case you think that number looks and sounds dismal, that only 25 women have served in the Texas Senate? In the history of the state of Texas, only 25 women. I was the 7th, along with Eddie Bernice Johnson. And so we need more women like you running for office, running for the Senate, and encouraging little Latinas to one day run for the Senate. Of the 25 women who have served, we have served with 954 men. And so we need more. So I encourage you to do everything you can to promote Latinas and to develop as the best possible leaders you can be, but to encourage others to do not only what you have done, but to do more. And above all, to run for public office. You will be doing a great service. Thank you, Senator Menendez. We certainly admire and respect you, and today especially thank you for bringing this beautiful group to the Texas Senate. Muchísimas gracias y que Dios los bendiga.
Chair recognizes Senator Menendez to close.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dean Zaffarini, off the cuff, without prepared notes. Did you see that speech she gave? And that's how she performs each and every time. She's an amazing role model. But I cannot stop, Mr. President. I would feel guilty the rest of the session if I didn't recognize the fact that I have 3 very incredibly strong Latinas in my life, starting with my 89-year-old mom, Maria Menendez, who helped make who my sister and I are, my wife Celia, who is working on finishing the job with me, and my daughter Victoria. I believe that we have had a history of not working together, and it hasn't been great. But I think the words that I heard from Senator Zaffarini is that when we do work together, we can achieve so much more. And I think part of the problem is that too many times we exclude people at the expense of all of us. And when society is made up of both men and women and others, that we have to take all our viewpoints into consideration. And so thank you for what you're doing. Just know that yes, I don't think you need anyone else but yourselves and your community to support you, your families. But you're going to be so much better when we work together. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of Senate Resolution 522.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. Resolution is adopted. Chair lays out the following resolution. Secretary, read the resolutions.
Senate Resolution 524 by Blanco. Senate Resolution 525 by Hinojosa Hidalgo. Senate Resolution 526 by Johnson et al. Senate Resolution 527 by Johnson. Senate Resolution 528 by Zaffarini. And Senate Resolution 529 by Hancock.
This is a voice vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Resolution is adopted. Members, if there is no objection, I would like to postpone the reading and referral of bills and resolutions till the end of today's calendar. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Members, that concludes the morning call. Senator Zaffarini, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 630.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider at this time House Bill 630 by Representative Cody Vasut relating to certificates of title for certain outboard motors. Generally, members, this bill would exempt an outboard motor that is at least 40 years old with a capacity of not more than 25 horsepower from certificate of title requirements. Mr. President, I move suspension.
Senator Zaffarini moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 630. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 630. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 630, relating to certificates of title for certain outboard motors.
Senator Zaffarini, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to third reading.
Senator Zaffarini moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to third reading. Senator Zaffarini recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional three-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional rule that bills be heard on 3 several days.
Senator Zaffarini moves suspension of the three-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Rules suspended. Chair lays out on third reading final passage House Bill 630. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 630, relating to certificates of title for certain outboard motors.
Senator Zaffarini recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage.
Senator Zaffarini moves final passage House Bill 630. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Bill is finally passed. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Middleton, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 1593.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take and consider House Bill 1593. This bill responds to the troubling reality that 8% of firefighters have suicidal thoughts. Despite PTSD being a covered illness under workers' compensation, many firefighters go untreated simply because they don't realize when they need help or don't know where to find it. House Bill 1593 directs the State Commission on Fire Protection to establish an advisory committee made up of fire service representatives and mental health professionals. Their job is to study the need for suicide prevention and peer support programs in fire departments across our state. This group will include representatives appointed by major firefighter associations and the Texas Fire Chiefs Association, along with licensed mental health professionals and a representative from Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service. And this bill requires the advisory committee to submit their report to the governor and the legislature by September 1st, 2026. And I move suspension.
Senator Middleton moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 1593. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 1593. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1593, relating to an advisory committee to study suicide prevention and peer support programs in fire departments in this state.
Senator Middleton, you recognized for a motion.
Move passage of third reading.
Senator Middleton moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing none, bill is passed to third reading. Senator Middleton, you are recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So move.
Senator Middleton moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Boardwell, Blanco.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Rules suspended. Chair lays out on third reading final passage House Bill 1593. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 1593, relating to an advisory committee to study suicide prevention and peer support programs in fire departments in this state.
Senator Middleton, recognized for a motion.
Move final passage.
Senator Middleton moves final passage House Bill 1593. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Boardwell, Blanco, Campbell.
30 ayes, 1 nay. The bill is finally passed.
Thank you.
Senator Hagenbu, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 879.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the regular order of business and take up House Bill 879. Oh, sorry. House Bill 879 is a bill I'm sponsoring for Representative Frank pertaining to veterans Texas obtaining medical licenses. HB 879 would create a pathway for veterans with medical and nursing experience gained during their military service to obtain licenses to practice medicine or nursing in Texas. The bill creates a streamlined process that allows veterans to apply for licensure in Texas if they were licensed in good standing in another state and serve as a medical professional during their military service. Eligible veterans need to meet specific criteria such as 1, leaving military service within the past year, and 2, passing the Texas medical or nursing examination. Veterans with a history of misconduct or felony convictions would be excluded from this process. HB 879 will help veteran work placement in Texas, which has more veterans than any other state. It also will help improve our healthcare workforce, which as we know, is struggling with recruitment and retention, especially in rural areas. Move suspension.
Senator Campbell, for what purpose?
To ask a question of the author.
Senator Hagenbu, will you yield?
Of course.
I just want to make sure your bill is providing reciprocity if it's nursing, a nursing license in the military. It's nursing they would be practicing in Texas with getting a nursing license, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if it's a physician, it's a medical license to practice medicine in the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your bill does not change the scope, expand the scope of nursing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good questions. Thank you.
Senator Hagenbu moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 879. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rule is suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 879. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 879, relating to the licensing of certain military veterans as healthcare providers.
Senator Hagenbu, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to third reading.
Senator Hagenbu moves passage third reading. Is there objection? Hearing none, bill is passed to third reading. Senator Hagenbu, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move suspension of the constitutional 3-day rule.
Senator Hagenbu moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Rules suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage. House Bill 879. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 879 relating to the licensing of certain military veterans as healthcare providers.
Senator Hagenbu, you recognize for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage of House Bill 879.
Senator Hagenbu moves final passage of House Bill 879. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
31 ayes, 0 nays. The bill is finally passed. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 3012.
I move to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 3012. Members, the current driver's education and traffic safety statute imposes a $3 fee for printed materials for student learners. Driver's courses have moved to virtual instruction and no longer use printed materials for learning. This bill removes the state-mandated unnecessary $3 fee. With that, I move suspension of the regular order of business to House Bill 3012.
Senator Nichols moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 3012. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 3012. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 3012 relating to the fee for a driving safety course.
Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion.
I move passage to third reading.
Senator Nichols moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to third reading. Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
I so move.
Senator Nichols moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary, call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
31 ayes and 0 nays. Rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage House Bill 3012. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 3012 relating to the fee for a driving safety course.
Senator Nichols, you're recognized for a motion.
I move final passage of HB 3012.
Senator Nichols moves final passage House Bill 3012. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Bill is finally passed. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 30.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 30 is a discussion about disaster relief and property tax level that are set using a declared disaster as an exemption to the existing voter-approved tax rate. You go back to 2019, post-Hurricane Harvey, we had set a disaster exemption in that code for what was effectively a Southeast Texas disaster apocalypse, where we would have mounds of debris outside of homes and in subdivisions from flooding. This was allowed because the disaster was allowed them to use the old rollback rate. Prior to 2019, we had a rollback rate of 8%. And that changed after 38 years, and as part of the landmark legislation of SB2 at the time, and putting in voter approval above the voter-approved the voter-approved tax rate. Now, there's been concern since then that this has been abused. In fact, we had a Category 1 storm in Southeast Texas that one taxing unit used to raise approximately, in aggregate total, 15% revenue with a vote of the public on one specific area. So House Bill 30 amends the tax code to allow a taxing unit in a declared disaster area to calculate the higher tax rate to allow taxing unit to collect additional revenue equal equal to the tax unit's unreimbursed local FEMA Category A expenses and a portion of their Category B expenses, debris removal, and Category B emergency shelter, overtime for first responders, search and rescue, et cetera. The B amendment came from TEDM, which is Texas Emergency and Disaster Management Group of language. So with that, be happy to move suspension of the regular order of business and take up and consider House Bill 30.
Senator Betancourt moves suspension of the regular order of business on House Bill 30. There is objection. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
22 ayes, 9 nays. Rule is suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 30. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 30, relating to the effect of a disaster and associated costs on the calculation of certain tax rates and the procedure for adoption of a tax rate by a taxing unit.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move passage third reading of House Bill 30.
Senator Betancourt moves passage to third reading. There is objection. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
22 ayes, 9 nays. Bill is passed to third reading, and we hold there.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Campbell, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 2696.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I move to suspend the regular order of business in order to take up and consider SB 2696, committee substitute. This bill is tasked the TDLR with creating a required certificate for non-medical professionals to perform cosmetic injections like Botox or derma fillers. Must be under the delegation of a licensed Texas physician. And with that, I move suspension.
Senator Campbell moves suspension of the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 2696. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading committee substitute for Senate Bill 2696. The Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 2696 relating to the regulation of the performance of cosmetic injections.
Senator Campbell, you're recognized for a motion.
I move passage to engrossment.
Senator Campbell moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Campbell, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved.
Senator Campbell moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
31 ayes and 0 nays. Rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading final passage committee substitute for Senate Bill 2696. The Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 2696 relating to the regulation of the performance of cosmetic injections.
Senator Campbell, you're recognized for a motion.
I move final passage.
Senator Campbell moves final passage. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 2696. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
31 ayes, 0 nays. Bill is finally passed. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Senator Betancourt moves suspension of the 3-day rule. Secretary, call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
25 ayes, 6 nays. Rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage. House Bill 30. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 30, relating to the effect of a disaster and associated costs on the calculation of certain tax rates and the procedure for adoption of a tax rate by a taxing unit.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage of House Bill 30.
Senator Betancourt moves final passage of House Bill 30. The Secretary will call the roll.
Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell. Cook,
22 ayes, 9 nays. Bill is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on Senate Bill 2043.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the regular order of business to take up and consider at this time. House Bill 2043 has to do with protections for healthcare workers, whistleblower protections. I move suspension.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the regular order of business on Senate Bill 2043. There is objection. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
21 ayes, 10 nays. Rule is suspended. Chair lays out on third reading final passage, Senate Bill 2043. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 2043, relating to prohibited retaliation against a physician or healthcare provider for reporting certain violations.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion.
Mr. President, I move final passage.
Senator Hughes moves final passage of Senate Bill 2043. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook.
21 ayes, 10 nays. Bill is finally passed. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senators.
Chair recognizes Senator Parker for a motion to not concur on House amendments to Senate Bill 2308.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I ask that the Senate do not concur with the House amendments to Senate Bill 2308 that eliminated critical provisions ensuring that ibogaine is administered under proper physician supervision in a clinical setting, which is essential for patient safety, and request appointment of a conference committee.
Senator Parker moves that the Senate not concur in House amendments to Senate Bill 2308 and requests the appointment of a conference committee. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Are there any motions to instruct? The following conferees.
Conference Committee on Senate Bill 2308. Chair, Senator Parker. Members, Senators Kolkhorst, Creighton, Blanco, and King.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on Senate Bill 2309.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move suspension of the regular order of business to take up and consider at this time Senate Bill 2309. Senators, this bill is about ballot box security, transparency, and accountability. The election code describes the duties of poll watchers and also our camera systems that monitor those voted ballots. These systems protect everyone. Poll watchers, of course, from various candidates, various parties, helps everyone. The transparency and sunshine is always good. Sometimes our rules create conflicts between election officials and the public when there are disagreements as to what poll watchers can observe, what the cameras must capture. This bill would clarify those to minimize conflicts, and I move suspension.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the regular order of business on Senator West. For what purpose?
Question of my good friend, Senator Hughes.
Senator Hughes, do you yield?
Of course I yield to my friend.
All right, so what problem are we trying to solve?
So, Senator, there are questions about what poll watchers have access to. Also, you'll recall that we supported legislation that says when those ballots have been voted and they're in the custody of the state, that there should be video surveillance. So we know if somebody's coming in and out, taking them in, putting them out. That's worked pretty well, but there's some questions about what happens when the ballots are not in their normal location. Maybe they have to move them because there's a problem at the courthouse or something like that. So this bill makes it clear that wherever those ballots are, voted ballots, they're going to be under that video surveillance. And so that's the idea. It's clarifying some things like that. I don't think it's controversial, but it is important.
So there's going to be ballot security when they're not in places where there's a camera? Is that what this does?
No, so for example, when the voted ballots have to be under video surveillance, it makes it clear that when they are delivered and when they're going to be stored, they need to be within view of a camera. We already passed legislation requiring those cameras, and they're not very expensive, as you know. And this is a broadcast on the internet so that it's not just the government watching, but our constituents can watch for themselves and see what's going on. And so it makes it clear that when voted ballots are delivered to where they're going to be stored, they need to be within the view of a camera. And on poll watchers, right now, this bill would clarify that when poll watchers are appointed to a polling place, they can observe all the activities related to, in addition to the closing of the polling place. They can observe the starting up and the closing of the voting system equipment, printing tapes, and they can inspect the ballot box. You know, those poll watchers are there to make sure, for all of us, that the rules are being followed. And so this just clarifies what they can do.
They can't do that right now? I thought they could do that right now.
So we believe they can, but some election workers have not let them. So that's why we need this. I believe, like you, I believe they can already do that, but some election workers have been confused about it. So we just want to make the rules clear for everybody so there's predictability.
Is that what y'all want to do?
Sir?
Nothing. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the regular order of business on Senate Bill 2309. There is objection. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Benton, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
20 ayes, 11 ayes. Rules suspended. Chair lays out on second reading Senate Bill 2309. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 2309 relating to election integrity and security of ballot boxes.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion.
I move passage to engrossment.
Senator Hughes moves passage to engrossment. There is objection. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
20 ayes, 11 ayes. Bill is passed to engrossment and will hold there, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senators.
Senator Menendez. You're recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on Senate Bill 2850.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider at this time Senate Bill 2850. Members, pollinators are a keystone species that play a crucial role in the ecosystem services that are the backbone of the state's nutrition, beauty, and economy. Texas is a home to countless of insects and organisms like bees, butterflies, wasps, beetles, bats. The list is endless. We as a state must be thinking about the pollinators and at the same level of priority as we do for other vital sectors. Yet, a lack of a statewide concerted effort towards supporting these skilled workers, and the data supports this. Senate Bill 2850 is a common sense strategy in addressing the role Texas plays in pollinator health through creating a task force to identify the ways we can prevent habitat loss, consider public education and outreach, and study what our neighboring states are doing for best practices and data strategies to inform agencies and future legislatures. I want to thank our good friend and colleague, Chairman Perry, for giving the bill a hearing, and his committee for the unanimous vote on this bill. Thank you, Mr. President. I move suspension of the regular order of business.
Senator Menendez moves suspension of the regular order of business on Senate Bill 2850. Is there objection? Hearing none, rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading Senate Bill 2850. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 2850 relating to the Task Force on Pollinator Health.
Following amendment, Secretary read the amendment.
Floor Amendment Number 1 by Menendez.
Senator Menendez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I want to be very clear with the body. Although this seems like a long amendment, it's a very simple amendment. This task force was originally thought to go best with the governor's office. We got a call from the governor's office. They felt that rather than adding an FTE to their team, they would much rather it go within Parks and Wildlife. And so what we've done is substitute where it says governor, we substituted director. We've substituted in the ag code to make it go, instead of the governor's office, under Parks and Wildlife. That was at the direction of the governor's office, and the amendment is acceptable to the author.
Senator Gutierrez, for what purpose?
Yes. Questions for the author.
Senator Menendez, do you yield?
Of course.
I was going to ask you this on suspension, but I'm glad that you did amendment. I'm just wondering, what's all the buzz about?
That's very, I'm glad you've been keeping yourself busy.
You know that bees are the hardest workers in the whole world?
Yes, I do.
And we have this wonderful woman that was here the other day. I don't know her name, but I watch her on TikToks. She's a lady from Smithville, Texas.
Yes.
And the people view her all over the world, and she goes off and takes bees out of people's homes, and she's a wonderful woman. I know she's big on this, and as Senator Zaffarine and I were just talking about this is a serious part. Without bees, we wouldn't exist, would we?
Absolutely. You need bees, water, the sun, because we wouldn't have plants, wouldn't get pollinated without bees.
And the serious part is we're losing a lot of bees, not just in this state, but across the country and across the world. So it's a very important bill.
Thank you. Yes. The Texas bee lady, her name is Erica Thompson. She's been here a couple times to testify on behalf of this. Very famous, and Environment Texas has played a role. So members, the governor's office supports this legislation. They just didn't want to bring it inside their office. They would rather it be under Parks and Wildlife, and I move adoption of floor amendment number 1.
Senator Perry, for what purpose?
Just a question for the author.
Senator Menendez, do you yield?
Yes, of course.
Support it 100%. I do appreciate the role of bees in our food supply and variety in our food supply and life in general, but I wasn't aware, I guess, that there was where it was going to be placed in that sense. So going forward, if it gets over to the House, I assume it's moving over to the House.
Correct.
Have a conversation and maybe AgriLife, which already has an extensive bee
perfect
stuff, and they probably have a whole backlog of information that may save time and money.
Yes.
But they are very appropriate. I'm not sure Parks is a pollinator
Friendly
deal. They may
place.
have an area that they do that in, but as you move forward, I would ask you just to look at possibly the AgriLife extension that we fund.
Yes.
And part of their funding is they actually have district offices that send people out on bee issues sometimes.
Absolutely.
They may have a good resource base.
I will talk to the governor's office. This advice or request came from them.
And I'm not trying to override any of what you've got done, but if there's room to have a conversation, those guys are bee guys.
Yes.
The AgriLife Extension already has that expertise that probably can get to a lot quicker result, a lot better place.
I appreciate that advice, and this is a new, agriculture is a new field for me, but I do believe this is important, and I appreciate the advice, and we'll work with
I hope it gets it over there, and if that's a conversation that's had and you choose to stay where you're at, I am perfectly good, but those guys do bees. They really do. That's
We're going to follow up.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the advice. Move adoption of floor amendment number 1, Mr. President.
Questions on the adoption of floor amendment number 1? Is there any objection? Hearing none, it is adopted. Senator Menendez, you're recognized for a motion.
Mr. President, I move passage to engrossment.
Senator Menendez moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Menendez, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Senator Menendez moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
29 ayes, 2 nays. Rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage of Senate Bill 2850. The secretary read the caption.
Senate Bill 2850 relating to the Task
Senator
Force on
Campbell.
Pollinator Health.
Senator Campbell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to speak on the bill. Well, Senator Menendez, I think this is a honey of a bill. And to Senator Gutierrez, I believe that we would be here without bees because the Lord put us here. But to your point, we might miss a little sweetness in the world. So with that, thank you, Mr. President. The only yellow thing I have is my purse. Would have been a perfect day for the yellow and black. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Menendez, you're recognized for a motion.
Mr. President, I've been given 2 pieces of information. One, AgriLife is a member of the task force under the bill, but I think I want to take Chairman Perry's advice and talk to the governor's office of possibly making AgriLife in charge of the task force. He knows a lot more about ag than I do. The other thing, I want to make sure in the event that this possibly may be the 75,000th consecutive vote, it may be from Senator Zaffirini, that if it is, that if we could take a moment to stop and acknowledge that incredible feat. Mr. President, on behalf of all the flowers, the plants, the things that are necessary for pollinators to take care of for them to live, I move final passage of Senate Bill 2850.
Senator Menendez moves final passage of Senate Bill 2850. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook.
29 ayes, 2 nays. The bill is finally passed. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Congratulations, Senator Zaffirini. Members, the Senate will stand at ease for 10 minutes to give the staff a break.
Members, can I have your attention? And if you're in the lounge, would you come out? So members, we have, I've done this now every session. It's kind of unbelievable that the record continues. Maybe the greatest record in legislative history in any state. I don't know, there could be one better. But with the last bill that you passed, our dean, Senator Zaffirini, has cast her 75,000 consecutive votes. And I don't know what you're going to do with one more gavel, but we're going to bring you a gavel out there. The chair announces the signing of the following of the Presidents of the Senate.
SB 250, SB 314, SB 455, SB 617, SB 761, SB 1012, SB 1023, SB 1236, SB 1886, SB 2004, SB 2122, SB 2269, SB 2306, SB 2371, SB 2411, SB 2420, SB 2929.
Senator Betancourt, you recognize committee substitute for Senate Bill 2639. Suspend the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President, members. Many cities around the state have adopted policies and ordinances to designate properties as historic. These designations can happen either as individual property or through designation of a historic zone covering multiple properties, and may happen either with the consent of the property owners or against the owner's wishes. Typically, a developer will acquire a group of properties to redevelop. After the development has submitted a development doc to the city, groups may petition to have one or more of these properties designated historical. So these actions, however, do delay and go against the wishes of the property owner. And really, all that Senate Bill 2639 is add additional transparency to the process by adding additional disclosures, and then asking that the property owner, if they are designated historical without their consent, get the estimated cost to repair or restore the property, or the greater of, or the difference between the appraised value of the property and the historical designation without the actual designation. And with that, I move suspension of the regular order of business, take up and consider Senate Bill 2639.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell,
22
Blanco.
ayes, 9 nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out second reading. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 2639. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee substitute, Senate Bill 2639, relating to the designation of property as a historic landmark.
You recognize on passed engrossment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move pass engrossment of the committee substituted Senate Bill 2639.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell.
22 ayes, 9 nays. The bill passed to engrossment. You recognize suspend the Constitution's 3-day rule. I understand you have friends.
I do. Thank you. So moved, Mr. President.
Secretary will call the roll when ready.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
26 ayes and 5 nays. The rules suspended. Chair lays out in third reading and final passage. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 2639. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 2639 relating to the am I supposed to be doing this?
You recognize on final.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to mention that this will be Dean Zaffarini 75th and first vote. And with that, I move final passage, the committee substitute, Senate Bill 2639.
Just for the record, it'll be her fourth vote because she's voted for suspend, voted for engrossment, voted for
Oh, you're correct. Then I stand
Trust
corrected.
me, she counts every one of those. How do you get to 75,000?
75,004 to correct the record, Mr. President.
Yeah. I'm watching her.
That's right.
Next session, and if she gets that gavel, I want to be sure she hadn't missed a vote. Secretary, I think you called the roll. Go ahead.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell.
22 ayes, 9 nays, bill's finally passed. Thank you.
Thank
He
you,
was
Mr.
cheating you
President,
out
members.
of 3 votes. He wanted to cut you by 3 votes.
I was going to cut you by, I thought this was your 75,001 first vote. President corrected me, it's your 75,004th vote.
I have your back.
Well, the Guinness Book of World Records awaits. At this rate, no one can catch Dean Zaffarini.
Senator Parker, you're recognized on committee substitute for Senate Bill 1705.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business to take up and consider the committee substitute to Senate Bill 1705. Virtual currency kiosks, better known as crypto ATMs, are popping up everywhere, offering quick and easy access to digital assets like Bitcoin. But their explosive growth has opened the door to serious abuse. Criminals are exploiting these unregulated machines for fraud, money laundering, and even trafficking. Law enforcement reports show these kiosks are frequently used in financial crimes. Scammers targeting the elderly and vulnerable often instruct victims to send money through crypto ATMs, posing as government agents, police, or tech support. In fact, Senators, this issue was brought to me early last year by several of my constituents who were scammed out of tens of thousands of dollars of their long-earned life savings. Criminal networks also use these machines for other criminal uses, including to clean dirty money, turning cash into hard-to-trace crypto in seconds. Furthermore, with their anonymity and lack of oversight, these kiosks have become tools for trafficking in drugs, guns, and even people, including a murder-for-hire case in my own district. The committee's substitute for 1705 brings order to the chaos. It establishes strong regulations to protect consumers and shut down criminal misuse. This will help the good operators protect their industry, which is very, very important. The bill requires licensing, transaction reporting, fraud safeguards, and clear consumer disclosures, giving law enforcement the tools they need to track down bad actors. It also sets fair limits on transaction amounts and fees to stop predatory practices and ensures compliance with financial laws. The bottom line is that the committee's substitute to 1705 keeps crypto innovation alive very much while stopping criminals from hijacking the system. It's smart, balanced, and long overdue. And I support, of course, the Bitcoin Reserve this session, which is a big piece of our legislative package this session to support technology innovation. And of course, been blessed to support digital assets since 2021 with the passage of my old House Bill 4474. So it's vitally important that we innovate in this space, but that we protect consumers. And with that, Mr. President, I move suspension.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell.
27 ayes, 4 nays. The rule is suspended. Chair lays out in second reading. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 1705. Secretary, read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 1705 relating to the regulation of virtual currency kiosks.
You recognize passage to engrossment.
So moved, Mr. President.
Secretary will call the roll when ready.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
27 ayes, 4 nays. The bill passed to engrossment. You recognize suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Secretary will call the roll when ready.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
27 ayes, 4 nays. Rule suspended. Chair lays out third reading, final passage. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 1705. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 1705 relating to the regulation of virtual currency kiosks.
You're recognized on final.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage. Thank you very much to you and the members for the support of this legislation.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell.
27 ayes and 4 nays. Bill's finally passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That time of session. Senator Hall, you're recognized on House Bill 2703. Suspend the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I'm sure that those in this chamber can agree that America is the greatest nation in the world. We hold freedoms and liberties that those in other countries simply do not have. This was not by luck or on account of following others, but rather forging our own path and lighting the way for the rest of the world. Members, that is why I lay out House Bill 2703 before you today to declare July American Patriotism Month. This month would be an opportunity for Texans to display their patriotism and celebrate the nation we call home. This month would also serve to recognize the countless members of the military who have placed their lives in harm's way for our freedom. Beyond the traditional symbols of our nation, this month would serve to recognize those in the civil rights movement, the space race, and the resilient citizens of our nation after 9/11. By voting yes to this bill, Texans will renew a sense of patriotism that is often lost in the division of our nation. Pride for our nation holds no party line, and the freedom we hold are special and rare. Let this bill a reminder as we near celebrating 250 years. Texans are leading the way in ensuring our nation is more prosperous, more patriotic, and above all else, more free. Members, I respectfully ask your support for this bill.
I love this bill, Bob. I love this bill. This is a great bill.
Absolutely.
Any objection? Hearing none. Rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading House Bill 2703. Secretary, read the caption.
House Bill 2703 relating to designating July as American Patriotism Month.
I think we're going to be the first state in the union to designate July as.
That's what I understand. We will again be leading the nation.
You're recognized on passage third reading.
So moved, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. You're recognized to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell.
31 ayes, no nays. Looks like everyone agrees. House Bill 2703 on third reading and final passage. Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 2703 relating to designating July as American Patriotism Month.
You're recognized on final passage.
Move final passage of House Bill 2703 to make July American Patriotism Month.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell, Blanco.
31 ayes and no nays. Bill's finally passed. And thank you, Richard Raymond over in the House, for sending us the bill.
Absolutely. Thank you, members. What's he, a rock star or something?
he undercovers corruption in the lottery and suddenly he's a rock star. Members on the right side of the room, just want to let you know, they're all signing on the bill on this side of the room.
Senator West is recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on House Bill 3526.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to suspend the Senate regular order of business to take up and consider House Bill 2526. House Bill 3526 has come over from Chairman Capriglione. The House. It has to do with fiscal transparency for bond, Capriglione, excuse me. It has to do with GEO, for transparency for bonds issued by local governmental entities. The bill requires a searchable database for local bond obligations to be created by the Bond Review Board. This will be a publicly available searchable database. It will be required to provide in a table format that's easy for the public to read and understand information on each proposed or issued bond by local governmental entities. I move to suspend the regular order of business.
Senator West moves suspension of the regular order business on House Bill 3526. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading House Bill 3526. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 3526 relating to fiscal transparency for bonds issued by local governmental entities.
Senator West is recognized for a motion.
Passage to third reading.
Senator West moves passage to third reading. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to third reading. Senator West is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional three-day rule.
So move.
Senator West moves suspension of the three-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 31 ayes and 0 nays, the rules are suspended. The chair lays out on third reading and final passage House Bill 3526. The Secretary will read the caption.
House Bill 3526 relating to fiscal transparency for bonds issued by local governmental entities.
Senator West is recognized for a motion.
For final passage of House Bill 3526 by Capriglione.
Senator West moves final passage of House Bill 3526. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton.
There being 31 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator West. Senator Campbell was recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business on the committee substitute for Senate Bill 2215.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. 2215 reinforces private property rights by providing clarification to an existing right enjoyed by property owners to challenge the validity of an ordinance by providing a clear and unambiguous waiver of immunity for claims brought against a municipality. And with that, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business.
Senator Menendez, for what purpose?
Questions of the author of the bill, Mr. President?
Senator Campbell, do you yield?
Yes.
Senator Menendez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Campbell. My question is, does your bill cause the city to waive, or do you waive the city's sovereign immunity in order to allow taxpayers to do something that, if they don't agree with the certain zoning laws? Is that what the bill does?
This is related to zoning. It does waive the immunity of a municipality.
So if someone sues the city and the city has to fight back, who pays for the defense? I mean, who pays the city's legal expenses?
Whoever is the loser.
But where do cities get their funds?
Well, from taxpayers, but yes, from taxpayers.
So taxpayers end up paying to defend against a lawsuit against someone who may not have liked. What's the origin of the bill? Did someone have a zoning request that was turned down and they're upset with the city?
Quickly, private property is at the point of this. A person had private property on Access Road to 35, had a contract, and this is one example, had a contract to sell it, but the mayor of that city did not want any more commercial that this is going to be, and decided to change the zoning. And that's not right.
Does it affect all cities? Is this a statewide implication?
It is not bracketed.
Okay,
It's focused on zoning.
I remember this was a small municipality.
It is.
Had a mayor who felt that they had too many car dealerships already.
Exactly.
Okay, and so we're passing a bill so that we can have someone, does the person that doesn't get the zoning, it gives them a right to use the courts to help overturn the cities?
Gives more it brings the city to the table in a court.
I think
it just provides recourse, which I think is right. We need that. And that's all it does.
I think, unfortunately, it also creates a cause of action by waiving the city's sovereign immunity. And I understand the frustration that came about from the person who wanted to sell to the car dealership. Interesting. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Senator Menendez.
Senator Betancourt, for what purpose?
Ask questions of the author.
Senator Campbell, do you yield?
Yes.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized.
Campbell, I thought this was a great bill, and the testimony that we had was really compelling.
Thank you.
Because we found out that this is the one little area that you can't have a motion by the taxpayer affected out of a lot of the code. And it would seem to be an area that we need to plug. Don't you agree?
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right. And
understanding
so
the issue.
With that, happy to get the bill out of committee, and the testimony was also very compelling. I think we have a mayor who needs to revise and consider his remarks on going up to a taxpayer and saying, well, I'll take a restaurant, but not a car dealer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Senator Campbell moves suspension of the regular order of business on the committee substitute for 2215. There is objection. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
There being 22 ayes and 9 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading the committee substitute for 2215. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 2215 relating to the enforcement against violations by municipality of certain zoning laws.
Senator Campbell is recognized for a motion.
I move passage to engrossment.
Senator Campbell moves passage to engrossment. There is objection. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook.
There being 22 ayes and 9 nays, the bill is passed to engrossment. And we'll hold right there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members and Mr. President.
Senator Paxton is recognized for a motion to suspend the regular order of business, the intent calendar, and the printing rule to take up and consider the committee substitute for Senate Bill 835.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members. I move to suspend the regular order of business, the intent calendar, and the printing rule to take up and consider the committee substitute to Senate Bill 835, Trey's Law. Members, Trey Carlock, for whom this bill is named, took his own life at the age of 28 after being silenced by a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, following repeated sexual abuse by the same abuser at Kanakuk camps, horrifically from the age of 7 until the age of 17. While a non-disclosure agreement may have legitimate use for some business agreements, NDAs have also been used to silence sexual abuse victims. This perverse application protects predators and the entities or institutions whose negligence enabled the abuse, and it facilitates continued abuse by shielding the perpetrator. Worst of all, perhaps, it takes away the most critical element of a victim's healing, their voice. Members, Trey's Law does not prohibit settlement agreements or the confidentiality of certain provisions of those settlements. But with passage of Trey's Law, NDAs in cases of sexual abuse will become void and unenforceable as against the public policy of the great state of Texas. Members, in testimony, it was repeated over and over again that telling the story of the abuse is central to the healing journey of that abuse for the victims. The decision of how and when and where and with whom to share that story should be the decision of the survivor, not the decision of the abuser. The culture of silencing victims in the name of protecting the reputation of an organization must change in the state of Texas. And with the passage of Trey's Law, it will. Members, I am grateful for the bipartisan support of Trey's Law in both chambers. My deepest thanks to Senator Hancock for his incredible leadership on this issue, and to the author of the House bill, Trey's Law, Chairman Jeff Leach. Members, with that, I move to suspend.
Senator Menendez, for what purpose?
Questions of the author, Mr. President.
Senator Paxton, do you yield?
Of course.
Senator Menendez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. So first of all, Senator Paxton, let me say thank you for working on this bill. I've worked on similar legislation in the past. I mean, this has been an ongoing issue for quite some time. A lot of very notable, wealthy, disgusting human beings have gotten away with abusing people because they had a wallet and a big checkbook that they could write to get an NDA. It's a long time in coming. My question is, there were several bills that were before the State Affairs Committee that were moving and being heard. Is this bill similar, or is this the strongest version of the bills that were heard? Because I believe you and both Chairman Leach had a bill that worked on this.
Thank you, Senator Menendez, for the opportunity to clarify and speak into that. First of all, yes, this is an important bill. And I don't know that I had shared this with you, but months into me working on this concept, which began last fall, I discovered after filing the bill that one of my students, when I was a teacher, was the victim of the same perpetrator who had abused Trey Carlock. And so this bill is personal for me, and no doubt in this chamber, whether we even know it or not, we know people who have been affected by this. It's a very underreported crime. Chairman Leach began his bill over Trey's Law in the House. Senator Hancock also had a bill that was identical to Chairman Leach. My bill was very similar. My bill began as specifically for child sexual abuse because of the victims that I was dealing with. But we passed in committee in State Affairs unanimously both the House bill and the Senate bill that we are looking at today, and they are identical to the House version that passed.
All right. Well, and so this bill is to any victim of sexual abuse. It's not necessarily just a child. It can be anybody.
There is no age limit on this bill.
Very good. Yeah, no, there's a long and dark history in this country with, obviously the most notable of all these scumbags is Harvey Weinstein, who used his checkbook to quiet and silence people and allow himself to continue to prey on women. And so I appreciate you bringing this bill forward, and I look forward to signing on as a co-author of your bill, and I appreciate it. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Chairman, or Senator Menendez.
Senator Paxton moves suspension of the regular order of business on the committee substitute for Senate Bill 835. Is there objection? Hearing none, rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading the committee substitute for Senate Bill 835. The secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 835 relating to the enforceability of certain non-disclosure or confidentiality provisions with respect to an act of sexual abuse.
Senator Paxton is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to engrossment.
Senator Paxton moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Paxton is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betcourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell.
There being 31 ayes and 0 nays, the rules are suspended. The chair lays out on third reading. And final passage the committee substitute for Senate Bill 835. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 835 relating to the enforceability of certain non-disclosure or confidentiality provisions with respect to an act of sexual abuse.
Senator Paxton is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. On behalf of all of those who have undergone this traumatic experience, who will be free to speak and pursue their healing, I move final passage of committee substitute to Senate Bill 835, Trey's Law.
Senator Paxton moves final passage of the committee substitute for the Senate Bill 835. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 31 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Paxton.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members.
The chair recognizes the Dean of the Senate for an announcement.
Mr. President and members, this is to announce that the Senate will meet as the caucus of the whole. Roll call will be taken at 3:30. Again, the caucus of the whole in the Betty King Room. Roll call will be taken at 3:30. Please be there. Thank you.
Senator Campbell is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved.
Senator Campbell moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckel.
There being 25 ayes and 6 nays, the rules are suspended. The chair lays out on third reading and final passage the committee substitute for Senate Bill 2215. The secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 2215 relating to the enforcement against violations by municipality of certain zoning laws.
Senator Campbell is recognized for a motion.
I move final passage.
Senator Campbell moves final passage of the committee substitute for Senate Bill 2215. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bencourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton.
There being 23 ayes and 8 nays, the bill is finally passed. Congratulations, Senator Campbell.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Dean of the Synod is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand in recess until 3:50. Is that all right? 3:50 today, Thursday, May 15th? 15th. Thank you.
Members, is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, so ordered. Senate will stand in recess until 3:50 p.m.